Welcome to the Unstoppables. Let's turn this intention stuff into money. The Unstoppables, where we turn intention into dollars. My name is Bill Woodich, trying to not trip over my tongue. It's a tough thing to do when it moves as fast as mine. Just take the dirty thoughts and put them in abeyance, hold them off to the side. We're going to go into relationships today. You know, in business, the foundation, the fundamental, the platform, the key to success in any business revolves and evolves around and through relationships. The quality of your relationships will dictate the type of clients, customers, and people you associate with, and that will not only influence, but will determine your future. It's true. No matter what you're selling, no matter what you sell, you have to build relationships. You have to. They're the same in terms of principle and application as they'll be in your kitchen, the boardroom, the dealer room, or the playground. There's fundamentals to relationships and a key to a process that brings you closer to the heart and influences more of the mind of the person that you intend to marry, partner with, do business with, strike the deal with. It's just the way it is. You know, so much of today is consumption, fast consumption. We want something really, really fast. We want 3 steps to a close. We want a close right now. We want the if-then. If we do this, do we have this? How's the price? How's the color? Talk to your wife, buy the car. But most of the things in the world of sales today that come that way go out the same way. Today, as it was yesterday and the years before, relationships are built step by step. The key for me when I started out was to get off all those scripts that tried to bring me down 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Because not only did I think I sounded like a robot, I actually became a robot. Feature, benefit, assumption, and move to close. People smell that on you. They see it coming, and you sound like everyone else who tries to do it that way. So what I did is to just jar my head back to another time, a time before everybody was swiping to get a date on, what is it that you're on, Tinder? On Tinder, Bumble, or whatever application they do now. It was an older time, and it was called courtship. So I started thinking about these novels I used to read through history, and these different epic periods from War and Peace, no matter what it was, about relationships and process and courtship and that whole extended foreplay that really brought us to a certain point. That's what sales was to me. I had to start thinking in terms of enrollment, not selling. So what I did was think of it in terms of a step-by-step process of building relationships, one heart, one mind at a time. And all I wanted to do in the courtship process was get to next. I wanted to get to the next date, the next yes, the next step that would bring me through a process closer to what I wanted. Isn't that the key to everything? How do we get what we want? Sometimes if we throw out and throw up too fast, we get turned down, shut out, and we may never open that door again. It's difficult to recover from a no. It is much easier to move to the ultimate yes by taking small steps toward that goal. I would ask, can I send you something to review? If you don't like what I said, if you don't find value in what I'm sending you, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect or Ms. Prospect, then I'll never call you again. 98% of the time, in my recollection anyway, they would say yes. Probably intending never to look at it, but starting with that first yes. And then I would start to drip things through, whether it's email, whether it's in written form, no matter what the form, to try to build value. And then I would come back around and ask if they got some value from it. And I'd make sure I was streamlining what I was writing, what I was sending, from something that had something important to do with them. Because remember, it is about them, it's not about you. You know, the first time you show up and say I, people shut down. You've got about 30, 45 seconds to get them to talk about themselves. That is key and mission critical if you're going to open the hearts and the minds of other people. I did that all wrong. I used to show up and use more eyes to the point where I got tired of talking about myself, and that's not easy to do. But I did, and I learned the way to capture thoughts is to ask people for theirs. They'll give you direction. They'll give you a way forward. They're more inclined to open up when they start talking about themselves. People love to hear the sound of their name and the sound of their voice. Listen to both inflection, content, and context. It will bring you a way forward. Now, I would carefully approach the face-to-face. Just like in courtship, I didn't want to ask for a date just by meeting somebody on the street. I wanted to build a process where I was more confident that I would get a yes, and I'd make it non-threatening. So I would ask, I would simply like to stop by, meet you, and see if there's something we can do together, and if we can't, if I can bring no value, if we don't feel this together, and maybe I can't, maybe I won't. I'll tell you, I won't waste your time. And I would get in. And then I would start to move again toward the next thing in this courtship, maybe a lunch. You know, maybe the roses, the flowers part of the whole thing was I would send a handwritten note, always thanking them for their time, always thanking them for the consideration. Because that's the thing that people can't get back is time. So you got to value time. You also have to show manners. You will cut yourself out and away from 90% of the people who don't exhibit manners. Whether they were raised with them or not, they don't feel so inclined as to use them. It's a skill. It's a way. It's a habit. And it works when you're building relationships. Because let's remember, when you talk about relationships, you're talking about respect. You're either evolving in a relationship or you're evaporating. The relationship strength is either evolving, getting stronger, or it is evaporating. Just like ice on a Texas sidewalk in July. Watch how fast it evaporates. That might not be a good metaphor, but you know where I'm going with it.
I got the picture.
You got the picture?
Yeah.
Give me an ice cube. I'm melting. Relationships evolve, or they evaporate. And they are centered around empathy, your ability to feel for another, your ability to expand your base together. It's the same in business. People look for possibilities. People look for solutions. People look for constructive ways to further their personal agenda and motive. And you have to be that one who's able to listen, who's able to apply from what they actively hear, and then move that forward to the next step in the courtship. I always tell salespeople, you don't want to try to marry everyone or sleep with everyone on the first date. There's a whole lot of people trying to do that. Now, there's a whole lot of people that will do that, and you're only as good as the next person that comes up. And people that are prospects or clients that sleep with everyone on the first date in terms of sales usually leave the same way. There's $1 lower, it's $2 lower. Somebody has a more fancy proposal, just blows them away, and they're enamored, they're in love with, and they're gone. Now, relationships are built on the foundation of respect, of evolving together, of earning the way forward, by connecting things with people that mean something to them. That's the key. If you listen to people who come across as gurus who can tell you, and will tell you, they're all over the internet. They're all over social media. I can make you a millionaire. I can just do what I say, read my book, and I can make you a millionaire. And if you don't think that's bullshit, then there's some land somewhere for you in Florida. Where's the swampland that they always talk about people buying? Don't be credulous and believe that stuff, because there's a whole lot of stuff that you might not want to hear, but that you need to know before you plunk down your $30. You've got to have the right aptitude for whatever job, career, profession you're about to enter into. Just because you want to be an entrepreneur doesn't mean you have the skill set. Doesn't mean you have the mental toughness to do it. Don't buy any of my stuff. Don't buy any of it unless you know that you're the person that has to do the heavy lifting. And the stuff that I create that people have taken and done pretty well with in their lives is stuff that requires you to do the work. And it doesn't mean it's always going to work for you, because see, the stuff you take from any speaker, from any business person, from any person that thinks they're in a position or maybe are in a position to tell you or suggest to you or share with you how to grow, you got to bring your own story. You got to bring your own pain. You got to bring your own narrative into the stuff, the tactics, the strategy that they share with you, because it has to become yours. If it's always going to be mine, if it's always going to be someone else, it's always going to be Gary Vaynerchuk, Grant Cardone, it's always going to be a cheap parody of their stuff. It's got to be yours. It's got to be yours. And that's the key to building relationships. They are subject to the people in them, the chemistry, the connection, or the lack thereof. But to go forward in this process that we call sales, enrollment, hearts, minds, cashing checks, winning, and going forward, you have to undertake the work that the process demands. And the process is you want every next step to be closer to yes. And just because you win the account, the client, the customer this year, doesn't mean you're going to do it next year if you lay off the process and don't understand that every year you're working that same courtship process. Listening, thinking of better ways to evolve together, not becoming apathetic, not letting the relationship erode into nothing but evolving together. That's the key, and that's the way forward. Intellectual honesty in all things. Integrity in all things. I can't tell you you can be the next thing. I can tell you you can be the best version of you if you take those small steps every day to change something that you think or in your heart know will make you better. If you don't, the road of failed attempt, the road of loss, is littered with people who thought they should do it, but then never took the steps to do it. No one can promise you success. You're the one that has to take and make your way towards success. And it happens one relationship at a time. Everything else is cheap snake oil. Don't buy it. You know what made me unstoppable in business? Unstoppable. Now, as you can tell, it's not my good looks. It's not my brain. You can probably tell that by now. It wasn't my sterling personality, but it helped. No, you know what it was? I gave people money-back guarantees without question if the product didn't work for them, and I was the product. Money-back guarantee. And we're not talking about $29.99 either. Money back. No questions. If these services do not fit, meet, or exceed your expectations, don't pay me. I will tell you to date, I don't think I've ever been failed to be paid once on those type of transactions that became partnerships, that became an understanding and an open way of doing business. See, if I'm not going to deliver value, I don't want to be paid for it. I don't want to take your money because I'm doing courses right now on sales and rejection. I don't want to take your money unless it's going to give you something of value. And the only one that's the arbiter, the judge, the governor of value is you, not me. Just because I think it's good, just because I know it worked, just because I know it works for some people sometimes, doesn't mean it's going to work for all people all the time. That's intellectual honesty, and that I will guarantee you. This is Bill Woodich. Cash those intents into dollars by knowing what you can be and then getting out there and striving to be that every day. Until next week, always forward.